Hey fellow world dwellers, it's Angry Turtle, and today I have for you one of the most important topics in regards to Fallout 76 combat: weapon ranges and everything that comes with it, including the fact that it's gonna be way more important from the next patch, as they are trying to distinguish between weapons and combat options, making range even more impactful. But first thing you may notice, like, what is that 102? What kind of units? So we did investigate, so we'll cover that. What are those 102 of what? That's actually quite tricky topic, but we did investigate that as well. What else important in this video are the perks, like for example this one, more damage to close enemies. How that actually works. There is similar perk that says more damage to far enemies. Called downrange at 20% damage to far enemies. What is far? What is close? We did investigate that as well, and that will be answered as well at the end. I will include a little bit explanation, like, you know, on compass when there are those numbers showing you the distance, how those correlate with all other numbers that we have for weapons. There is correlation. It's not 1-to-1. So let's start. First, the very important topic. Quick explanation how we come up with numbers. First, the range on the weapon, 102. So that's as close to 100 as I was able to get for easier math. Then I was shooting this wall to see at which point the damage drop-off starts. And you can see that's the 102 range. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.5 foundation. 4.5 foundation. We did estimate that the length of foundation to be 22 units. And what are those mysterious units? Then we did come forward and try to compare the foundation to real life size items that we have in Fallout, and we figure out that one unit of weapon range is about 6 inches, and then chat proposed that the reason for that odd unit of measurement must be Todd Howard, and we are using Todd Howard D. So in short, TD as units of measurement for range. Is it accurate or not? How the person in live chat knew how long is Todd Howard D, that's a mystery, but that's from the chat, not from me. So TD is short that I will be using for the weapon ranges, as I don't know what else is the unit that has 6 inches. If you know, let me know. But that's the 6 inches is one unit of the range. The foundation has 22 units, 22 TD. So 22 TD is one foundation. When weapon has 100 range, and you want to figure out, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So I'm sitting in the middle. 4.5. That's the weapon range for the weapon that has 100. You can see it's not as far as you could think about it. At first I was thinking that will be feet, but feet are twice as long, therefore it would be twice the distance, but it is not. So that's the range of 100. Why is it so important? Because then the damage drop-off comes into play, and how damage drop-off work. It already kind of worked like that in the live game version, but it is being updated with September patch. And what I'm talking about in this video, I will say everything that applies from September, but 90% of the information is already like that in the live game version. The weapon range and damage drop-off is changing. So, new formula for damage drop-off. You will be losing 10% of your damage each time you add 20% to the distance. So, at range of 122, I will lose about 10% of the damage, and it goes like that. So I'm losing damage, as you can see if I'm moving backwards. When I double the distance, that's half of the damage and keeps dropping. So at range of 204, I'm doing half of the damage. And then if I keep moving backwards, at range about 285, if I go to about 285, 286, I'm doing only 10% of my original damage. So we can see if I move at this distance with the weapon of 100 range, I am losing 90% of my damage, basically all the damage. At this distance, using this weapon is quite worthless. I'm doing almost nothing, barely any damage. There are some exceptions to the damage drop-off, at least currently in the game, and probably for foreseeable future. The explosive effect, so the explosions that the weapon do, they do not lose damage with the distance. As well, if you have something that has dot on it, and I didn't equip any weapon with dot, but if you have any damage over time, it applies the same regardless how far from the target you are. And then one extra topic, how weapons like flamer type weapons work, as they list range too. But what we know now, this range, it's nothing to do how far enemy can be to hit it. It's nothing, it's not connected. It's just when the damage starts dropping, when the damage drop-off starts. So those are unrelated. Let's fix that wall. And look at that. So that's 80. I'm moving back and I'm losing damage. So that's the damage loss. I will not even achieve 50% of the damage point, as I'm just completely losing the range of the animation. The range of the animation is important. When you go beyond that, it doesn't do damage. Like this flamer do damage, and look at that, no damage drop off. It just stops doing damage. So in case of the flamer, I cannot even achieve the range of 93 because the flame is basically shorter. Therefore, I will never lose any damage. I will just stop doing damage at all as I'm not hitting the target. So flamers are a very specific case of weapons. Now, what is considered close enemy and what is considered far enemy? It's actually quite similar. So close enemy in the regards of distance, close enemy is 50, it's 50 TD or less, so approximately 2 foundations. That's 44, a little bit over 2 foundations. If you are closer, so that's the distance. If I'm at this distance or closer to the target, I will hit it with bonus damage to close enemies. In practice, when you're fighting enemy, that will be the Guardian fight. When you are touching the railing, you are close enough to do damage to close enemies. Now, what's the difference for the damage to far enemies? Damage to far enemies is 60 TD or more. Therefore, for damage to far enemies, you want to be at approximately 3 foundations away or further. That's already counting as a far enemy. As you may notice, it's not really so far. I would risk it to say that for most people that would be close enemy, not a far one, but it's already a far one. And any more moving backwards, it's still counting as a far enemy. I cannot show damage numbers on wall, as those perks apply only to enemies, and wall is not classified as enemy, so cannot be used for this purpose. Next, how far it is when you have a lot of range and how that works. So scoped up, if you equip that, crack shot, another aiming one, long shot, all the aiming ones, they will add up together. So all those perks will increase your range by 110%. And then if you have something like a sniper, for example, this Brotherhood Recon, and it's unsuppressed, so maximum possible range I could get out of it, so 416. It will drop a little bit if I add suppressor. It will drop even more if I don't use ultrasight. But this is the range, 416. So in practice, that's already a lot, even if you are not aiming. Look at that, 172, and now I'm moving back, so we'll see when I'm hitting the point that it's 400 and above. So I'm almost at 20 foundations, and it's dropping. And that's the mark for 20 foundations. I did those side floors every 10 foundations, so it's easier to count. So I close to 20 foundations. 20 foundations would be 440 TD, as each foundation is 22. So that adds up. Just before 20 foundations, I'm exceeding the range of 416 TD as I'm at 440 TD. If I aim now, I'm again at full damage and I can be moving backwards and backwards. And fun fact is I can be moving as far as the render distance will drop and I will still be doing full damage. As my range with this weapon is almost 1000 TD while aiming. And I did drop off here. I didn't build the floor anymore. But you can see that. Still full damage. So snipers can really push the damage real far. So that's still in range of 100% damage. And that damage drop-off would start. But you may guess that it's gonna take a lot. That's now dropping a little bit before I drop any significant amount of damage. So snipers, yes, there is big distinction you may notice between a weapon that has 100 range and 400 plus a scope and all those options. Now, how the TD unit corresponds with markers on your compass for ease of measurements for you and how you can do it yourself. If you mark anything as active like this, talk to the boomer, I will see the distance from the boomer. So let's go there. Now you can see I have this marker showing 40, but 40 units of what? At first I was thinking it will be more complicated, but it's actually quite simple. It's 1 unit on the compass, it's 10 TD. Therefore, when I see distance of 10, if you want to translate it into weapon range, when it shows 10, I'm currently at the distance of my laser rifle, that's 102 TD. And when it's showing 10, multiply it by 10, and you have corresponding value in TD. So that's the distance of 100 as for the weapons. If I move backward, you can see how far it is from enemy. Now that's 200 TD. So just add 1 0 to what you see on your compass, and you have exactly what it is on the weapons. Why is it like that? Why are we basing TD as 6 inches in Fallout universe outside of explanation that already told you? I don't have another explanation. So to recap everything, just real quick here. The range is in TD. 1 TD is 6 inches. After that, the damage drop-off starts. So it doesn't tell you how far you can hit, as animation of the projectile is independent. Like all projectiles have animation and they eventually disappear. If you fire up, you can see those projectiles are not endless. They don't go into space. They have limited range. And that applies to all weapons. Not all weapons have the same animation, so some weapons can hit further. Other weapons are not able to hit so far at all. So it varies. It varies for the weapons. The number indicates how fast the damage drop-off starts, and the damage drop-off continue up to 280% of your total range when it's 10% and stops dropping anymore. So it drops down to 10%. You are losing half of the damage. When you exceed the range, when you basically double the range, you are losing half of the damage, and it continues at 280% of listed weapon range. So for this weapon, around 280, you are losing 90% of your damage from the weapon. So that's very important to know. And perks that say close enemy are 50 or less TD. Perks that say far enemy are 60 or more TD. And that's the most important info when you are planning your weapons and your playstyle. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know, and see you in the next one.